people, they sort of wake up and say, wow, what is happening? Well, and then they ask themselves, what can I do? How can I contribute? Very important question, because I think business in all sectors will change. If you look at today's world, everything is changing. So the company who does not read the signs, will have difficulties going, in a couple of years. So systems have to change, and they will change, whether you like it or not. And in my case, these are like farmers that live in the middle of nowhere. They sell their fruits to middlemen or local market at ridiculously low prices because they don't know what the market is. They have no clue, And these are also farmers. They're farmers because their father was a farmer. They inherited a farm, and then they just keep repeating what the father has been doing, and then they pass it on to their kids. And if you look at those farmers, and if you look at that village, and if you look at that town, and at that state, at that country, that continent, if nothing happens, this will continue forever and ever and ever, and change is not going to happen unless you really give them the key ingredients that it takes that they can make a step. And what we did actually was simple. We just did two things. One is we grouped them and we gave them technical know-how. We taught them how they can be better farmers. And sometimes it takes just a little, just like soil fertility, pruning, certain of these elements that make them just like increase their yields. That's one. And the second is we link them to international market. And obviously for that to do that, so we used the fair trade and the organic scheme. And the combination of that really was a life changer for hundreds, thousands of farmers. And also now you can ask and say, okay, but why nobody else has done that before? Because it's not easy, and because it's not lucrative. Big business, they go where their money is. If there is no money, there's not a lot of money if you go into these small scale farmers. Just the logistics, just to drive up to this small orchard and harvest, can be a killer. So you needed to find the way how to make that viable, And I was very aware at the beginning that I can never compete with the big guys like the Doles and the Chiquitas and the Del Montes. And this is why I knew I needed to have some element, some additional premium that offsets my higher cost. And this is why I used the fair trade and the organic scheme, But then, obviously, with more scale, we then fine-tuned the model. We looked at economies of scale. We looked at all these different elements that we could make that as a business, even though the margin was small. So what are systemic changes? You look at certain things with a fresh eye. You take an NGO and you turn it into a business. You find businesses in ways nobody else has thought that could be a business. You also have the walls breaking down. You have the walls breaking down between the NGOs, between the governments, between the big businesses. You have to take a fresh look. You see this. The consumer behavior is changing. Awareness is changing. Like with access to technology, so many elements are changing rapidly. That necessarily we have to rethink. And why is that positive for us? Because now everybody has more information. They know something. They want people are waking up. We live in the times of the tsunamis, of climate change, of oil spills. And people, they sort of wake up and say, "Wow, what is happening?" Well, and then they ask themselves, "What can I do? How can I contribute?" And they want to contribute in one way or another. But maybe they live in London or in Paris or in New York, and they have their day job. And then we give them the possibility to say, look, you walk into Whole Foods, you walk into that store and to buy fair trade, you pay a bit more, but with that we guarantee that we support small scale farmers, And so we give them a possibility that they can feel part of that. And actually at the beginning I didn't see that. When I started, this was part of my learning, When I started, I thought, I'm here to help farmers. I don't care about the rest. I know I need the market, but my work is to help farmers, And I was just exporting to one big importer in Holland, and I thought that's taken care of, So I can focus on the model for the farmers. But then 2009 came along, and 2009 was the economic crisis. And the margins became smaller. Not many, not the same amount of people bought fair trade. And then I realized that, wow, I needed to reinvent my business because I knew maybe I was not going to survive. And then I also saw that the importer is always making the margin, my importer. And so then I realized if I don't reinvent my business, I may not continue. So then I saw that I realized that what I do is really I take out the middleman. What I do, I take out the middleman in these countries, by giving a direct access. So why don't I do the same on the importing side? So what I did then, I set up my own import company. I went to England. I set up a company in England, my first import company, and then I was importing myself. I partnered with a guy who I knew who had the network, and this was overnight successful. And it helped us to continue. And what I learned then is, I learned that about the market. How important it is. All the trends, what supermarkets run, and all of this. And that supermarkets also now, there's another big trend that supermarkets, they don't want to buy from importers anymore. The supermarkets, they want to buy from producers directly. So it's like, and because we represent thousands of farmers, we were like the right people at the right time, at the right place. And so basically, what I'm doing now is, I realize I can only help farmers if I have the sales. Because what we do is, we use the engine of economy to lift farmers out of poverty. This is the engine. I just tap into an engine that runs anyway. Tap into that force, and with that force, I lift farmers out of poverty. But I can only do it if I have the sales. So the more. So if I want to grow my farmer, I need to grow my sales. It needs to go hand in hand. So right now, I'm so aware of that this has to go in parallel. So I look at the sales strategy. That is very important. If I can grow sales, then I include more farmers. When I started, I had my early success, and I was very happy. And then we got from Ashoka, this is like a social entrepreneur organization. We got the visitors from India, and they came from India. They looked at what we were doing in Mexico, and they said, "This is fantastic. This is fantastic. I want to take your model to India." And I said, "Wow, that's great. I want to help as many farmers as possible. So why don't we go to India?" And we basically just, because he was from this high reputation organization, I said, "Let's do that." And we opened Fructrasa India, And then I flew for my first and my last time to India. We opened the company, and because I just trusted it would go, but I didn't do any due diligence. I did due diligence, and we looked at what product they have. They have wonderful mangoes and other fruits, but it's just literally impossible to get fruits out of the country because there is no infrastructure. It takes forever. All my mangoes would be rotten by the time they get to the port. So, and I didn't do that. I didn't do that due diligence. I just trusted basically that guy, and he also didn't know, So I ended up closing the company. And before I closed, I tried to do some other products like sesame and palm oil and others, But then I also realized there are experts in every market. Nobody waited for me to have another palm oil or another sesame, And then I closed. So what is the lesson? The lesson is, don't run if you can't walk. Do first. I wanted to replicate before I was ready. We are now in the position where we can go out, we can roll it out. I can offer to the world and say, who wants to replicate my model? Who is like, and we're looking for the guy that is driving a cab, but has a business degree and maybe an agricultural degree, but he drives the cab because he can't find a job. And he's saying, okay, I want to do this for my country. He finds out and he says, I want to replicate that model in my country. And that's the beauty. That's what I'm saying is the impact as we go, as we continue, as we now have that created an infrastructure, that global network. Now we can really increase the impact globally and include many more farmers. So, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty. But I'm here at that point because I passed through those failures. Did I learn? Yes. I had to close it down. Yes. But because of that, I have more clarity. In my case, we are 100% mission-driven company. This is everybody who joins us comes because they come because they want to help, lift farmers out of poverty. That's why we, in our case, we don't even have to go out and look for people. People apply. This is like the magnet that attracts people, and this is very important for us, because when I hire a new person, I look at does he has this our essence in his or her DNA, and that he feels that they really can contribute. That's what I always say to my people. I'm not looking for employees. I'm looking for entrepreneurs. Because we are such a mission-driven organization, I want everybody, to develop themselves. I think that is true for many other sectors. You need to understand what are the changes and what is the true contribution. Because every company, there is a contribution that goes beyond just like the financial returns. And once you fully understand that and you embrace that and you build on that, then we can make that world a better place.
Wow.